Have you ever stopped to think that you might be giving up your freedom without even realizing it? Could the place you chose to grow old in actually be accelerating your decline? And what if I told you there are hidden truths about nursing homes that no one dares to share, and that understanding them now could completely change the course of your health, your longevity, and your dignity? If you're over 60 or caring for someone who is, you need to hear what I'm about to reveal. As a geriatrician, I've witnessed dozens of stories of elderly people who deeply regretted the decision to move into a nursing home. And it wasn't due to lack of care, but something far more subtle and dangerous: the loss of purpose, autonomy, quiet health, and one's place in the world. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel, because here I'm going to give you the kind of knowledge they don't share in quick appointments or clinic brochures, the kind that can radically transform your later years and help you live longer, healthier, happier, and freer. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the 6 hard truths that almost nobody talks about, but which you need to know now if you want to age with dignity and longevity. Get ready, because the first truth begins with something you'd never imagined losing so fast: control over your own life. Few people talk about this, but loss of independence doesn't happen all at once. It seeps through your fingers, silent as fine sand. What starts with a simple "let the caregiver do this for you" quickly turns into a scenario where even choosing your own clothes becomes negotiable. It's as if life stops being yours and becomes a protocol to follow. Freedom, once taken for granted, becomes a concession of institutional routine. And here's the first warning: without autonomy, even your well-being begins to wither. It's no exaggeration to say that longevity truly depends on a sense of control. Studies show that older adults who keep making simple daily decisions, like when to go to bed or what they want to eat, have better health markers in later life. Autonomy is directly linked to disease prevention and mental health maintenance. When everything is decided by others, from when you go for a walk to what's on the dinner menu, your brain goes into energy-saving mode and your body follows. And that healthy aging we all strive for begins to look like a mirage. Once I treated a patient who burst into tears, telling me she could no longer choose whether to have tea or coffee in the morning. It may seem trivial, but it represented her entire identity being erased, bit by bit. She said, "Doctor, even my silence has a schedule now." The impact is profound. Emotional resilience, a vital key to living well, starts to weaken. And that's where lifestyle habits come in. Keeping small daily decisions in the hands of the elderly is more than kindness, it's a health strategy. Now, don't get me wrong, not all nursing homes are oppressive. Many provide care, security, and companionship. But the truth is, their structure must serve many, and in the process, individuality gets diluted. Breakfast is at 7 a.m. for everyone, baths at 9 a.m., and the walk at 11 a.m., if it's on the schedule. Routine ceases to be personal and becomes collective. And when we lose the freedom to create our own rituals, we also lose the connection to what makes us feel alive. A good example: Maria, 79, was always active, planting flowers every Sunday, doing yoga twice a week. When she moved into a nursing home, they forbade her from going to the garden alone. "For your safety," they said. Within 3 months, she stopped planting, stopped stretching. "It's as if they turned off the light inside me," she told me. This isn't uncommon. Dependence becomes a cycle that's hard to break. Healthy aging demands movement, choices, and purpose. But there's something even deeper that happens when we feel forgotten. There's a kind of silence that hurts more than any physical pain. It starts slowly. Sundays that used to be for visits now become just another day. The phone rings less and less. When messages do come, they feel like hurried affection. At first, the elderly justify it. They're busy, life out there is hectic. But over time, that absence weighs heavily. And it weighs in a way your body senses. Your chest tightens, your appetite fades, even your sleep suffers. Loneliness, in this context, becomes as real a risk factor as any illness. And that's when the silent cycle sets in. Fewer visits, fewer smiles, less desire to leave the room. A mind so sensitive to affection begins to darken. Longevity research shows social bonds have a direct impact on healthy aging. And it's not just about company, it's about being remembered, feeling important to someone. Science has proven that lack of affection raises cortisol levels, the stress hormone, raising the risk of cardiovascular disease. In other words, being forgotten makes you sick, and few discuss it with the seriousness it deserves. I remember Mr. Augusto, 87, who used to see his daughter every Saturday. It was the joy of his week. When she moved to another city, he kept dressing at the same time and waiting on the garden bench. Saturday became the day of waiting, and when I asked how he was, he said, "Doctor, sometimes I feel like I've been unplugged from the world, like my Remember Me button was deleted." It's more common than you think, and it directly affects health, motivation, and emotional resilience in later life. There's a line from a medical article I never forgot. Prolonged emotional absence causes an invisible atrophy in the elderly, a slow loss of will to go on. It sounds strong, but it's real. Well-being isn't just good test results or a balanced diet. It's also knowing someone is thinking of you. That gives you the energy to get out of bed, get dressed, make plans. And here, family plays a crucial role. The lifestyle habits that preserve the joy of living are built on simple gestures. A visit, a call, a photo sent with love. When that sense of being forgotten takes hold, it brings in an even more dangerous visitor: loss of purpose. Because when you feel you no longer matter, that your presence is neutral or dispensable, you start asking yourself, why keep trying? And that's what we need to talk about now. Loss of purpose is like a fog that creeps in quietly until it covers everything. At first, it's small things: the coffee cup left untouched, the plant not watered, the book open to the same page for weeks. The routine that once gave structure to days dissolves, and with it goes the meaning of simple things. What many don't realize, and few admit, is that without a why, the body ages faster. Without purpose, the brain slows down, muscles weaken, and the spirit seems to wilt. There's an old saying, "He who has a why can bear any how." Never has it been more true than when applied to health in old age. Science shows that older adults who maintain meaningful activities, even simple ones like caring for a pet, cooking or writing, live longer and with higher quality of life. A study in the Journal of Geriatric Psychiatry found that a sense of usefulness reduces the risk of dementia. Staying mentally and emotionally active is a powerful way to prevent degenerative diseases. George, an 84-year-old man I followed for years, is a case I carry in my heart. A carpenter since he was 16, he made small wooden toys for neighborhood children. When he moved into the nursing home, his tools were stored away, and his workshop became a storage room. "My hands don't know what to do anymore," he told me, staring at his palms. Soon after, his expression changed, his appetite fell, and he stopped interacting. Lack of purpose made him sick from the inside out, a clear example of how emptiness can be more dangerous than it seems. Purpose lives in the details: coffee made with care, a shirt button sewn on by hand, a note left for a grandchild. The problem is, when we hand over everything to caregivers and institutions, we strip away those small functions. And without function, the elderly feel they don't contribute, that they're not needed. This silent, persistent feeling erodes resilience, the inner strength that sustains you through hard times. And with it, well-being begins to crumble. Never underestimate the power of a simple task with deep meaning. Often, the secret is to let the elderly keep doing what they love, even on a smaller scale. A wooden spoon in hand, a blank sheet to draw on, or the simple responsibility of caring for a flower can be instruments of longevity. Loss of purpose may be one of the most ignored causes of accelerated aging, but make no mistake, it's real and reversible. First, though, you must understand what else is being lost without most people noticing. And that brings us to the next point, decline of physical health. Few understand how treacherous inactivity can be. At first glance, rest seems good. Who doesn't want comfort? But there's a silent danger in lack of movement. The body begins to unlearn how to support itself. Muscles, joints, even the immune system depend on constant stimuli. And in many nursing homes where everything is made too easy, the elderly lose the chance to use their bodies naturally. Comfort, in this context, becomes a trap that weakens and makes you sick. What starts as a little help climbing stairs soon turns into not getting out of bed alone. And then the cycle becomes perverse. Less movement creates more fragility, which leads to more dependence and eventually total decline. The World Health Organization states that keeping active can reduce cardiovascular disease risk by up to 40% in older adults. It's pure disease prevention. And the best part, you don't need a gym. Light walks, getting up from the sofa without help, daily stretches, all make a world of difference. Alice, a sweet 81-year-old woman, is a case I never forget. When she arrived, she still took small walks around the garden. Over time, they discouraged her. It's cold, it's dangerous. Let us push the chair. In months, the wheelchair became part of her. "Doctor, I feel like I aged 10 years in 6 months," she said. And she wasn't exaggerating. Her body lost strength, but her will faded first. That's the difference between aging and being aged by external circumstances. The secret is to keep the body moving, even at home. Sweeping the yard, climbing a couple of stairs, or watering plants is powerful functional exercise. Plus, certain foods help preserve muscle mass and brain function. Take boiled eggs, rich in choline, which supports memory and neuromuscular health, and extra virgin olive oil, a natural anti-inflammatory. Simple choices that, combined with healthy habits, promote surprising longevity. So, if you notice a loved one has stopped walking, stretching, or getting up from the chair alone, sound the alarm. A body not challenged regresses. Healthy aging requires daily movement, not as a chore, but as a self-care ritual. Now imagine what happens when, beyond the body, dignity begins to slip away. That's the next point we must explore with extra care. There's something deeply human about needing your own space, a corner that reflects your history, quirks, and choices. When an elderly person moves into a nursing home, that intimacy is usually the first to disappear. Shared rooms, controlled routines, even having to ask to use the bathroom turn life into something impersonal. Privacy, once a sign of respect, becomes a luxury. And that's when many begin to feel their dignity eroding slowly. A sense of individuality is a pillar of well-being. Being able to close a door, choose your towel, or decide when to bathe may seem trivial, but these details keep self-esteem alive. When the elderly lose that control, they withdraw. In many cases, silent depression sets in, reduced appetite, apathy, sleep disorders. And the most worrying part? Few notice it happening. Health in old age isn't just about normal test results. It depends on respecting dignity in every daily gesture. I remember Mr. Ernesto, a discreet, methodical man who prized order. When he moved in, sharing a room with a noisy, confused roommate completely destabilized him. "Doctor, I wake up in a fright every night. I feel like I'm in a never-ending camp," he confessed. Such forced cohabitation wears you down physically and emotionally. The body reacts to chronic irritation with inflammation, muscle pain, and even weakened immunity. factors that directly impact longevity and invite opportunistic illnesses. Dignity also lives in touch. It's not just giving a bath, it's asking first. Not merely changing clothes, it's respecting timing and modesty. Small acts that restore trust and strengthen resilience. When an elderly person feels they still have a voice and their preferences matter, they regain the will to care for themselves. Some care centers even adapt spaces to feel like home, with closing doors, family photos on the walls, and familiar scents. It transforms everything, and studies show it reduces anxiety and improves mood. Understand this. Privacy isn't a luxury, it's a health factor. Dignity isn't just a nice word, it's a shield against emotional decline. Without it, the elderly become bodies that merely survive, not souls that truly live. But what about when that sense of imprisonment mixes with fear of no return? The next truth is harsh, and it needs to be said. At first, choosing a nursing home often comes with good intentions. Time to recover, a transition phase, perhaps more security. But what many don't realize, and few dare admit, is that going back becomes nearly impossible over time. The body, already weakened by a passive routine, loses vigor. The old home often no longer exists. Sold, rented, or cleared out, it becomes just a memory. And self-confidence, a key to longevity, is one of the first things to disappear in this process. What seemed temporary turns permanent through a series of silent factors. The elderly start doubting themselves. Can I still live alone? What if I fall? What if no one visits? These questions, fueled by months of inactivity and dependence, create an emotional prison. The body, unused to simple tasks, no longer responds as before. What was once an easy bath now requires help, and once that dependence sets in, the path back closes, not physically, but psychologically. Many of my patients share this feeling. One, Mr. Roberto, planned to leave after 6 months, but his daughter rented out the house, and when he tried to reclaim it, he realized his routine was gone. "Doctor, I don't even know where my keys are today," he said, eyes vacant. Health in later life is intimately tied to feeling capable. When that feeling vanishes, disease risk rises, immunity falls, and motivation disappears. It's as if the body accepts the new permanence. Here's a valuable warning. If you decide on a nursing home, pair it with a reversible plan. Prepare your home for a possible return. Keep one room reserved. Continue paying bills in the elder's name. These steps preserve the idea of choice, and that idea sustains resilience. Having a plan B isn't pessimism, it's a well-being strategy. Plus, maintaining some activity and autonomy inside the home can ensure a return is still possible if needed. But what if leaving isn't viable anymore? How do you face that reality? How do you make an unplanned permanence less painful and more dignified? The answer, though hard, starts with a deep choice, understanding what you truly left behind. And the next point reveals a truth that can completely shift your perspective. The regret here isn't having aged. That's actually a privilege, but not having fought harder to stay at home with your routines, dishes, and familiar windows. Many tell me they didn't appreciate freedom while they had it. And perhaps that's the most valuable lesson. Autonomy is like a muscle. Unused, it atrophies. And with it go identity, life habits, and a sense of belonging. Healthy aging demands more than medication and up-to-date tests. It demands roots, history, solid ground. Of course, nursing homes have their role. They can offer care, safety, and socialization. But the decision to move should be deeply reflected upon, planned, and if possible, postponed until absolutely necessary. Health in later life is full of nuances, and knowing the right moment to change makes all the difference. Ideally, adapt your home, invest in small supports, and build a home care network. These actions preserve well-being and keep the elderly in contact with what's theirs. and more. They strengthen emotional resilience to face time's challenges. In one consultation, I heard something I'll never forget. "Doctor, what made me sick wasn't age. It was the absence of my things, my schedules, my routine." That's powerful because it shows healthy aging is deeply tied to your environment. It's not just biology, it's story, affection, space. An elderly person needs stimulation, choices, reasons to wake up excited, and none of that is found in an impersonal room with schedules set by others. If there's one message to share, it's this. Fight for your freedom while you still can. Keep your bonds. Preserve your little rituals. Say what you want and what you don't. And if you need help, let it add to your life. Never dominate it. Disease prevention also involves keeping the flame of purpose, autonomy, and hope alive. Longevity isn't just living longer, but living with meaning, dignity, and above all, with the joy of remaining who you are. And maybe in the end, the most important question isn't whether it's worth going to a nursing home, but how can I build today a future where I remain the author of my own story? Because aging, at its core, is this: learning to continue, even when everything around you changes. So I ask you now, would you give up your freedom, knowing the real price it can exact on your health and dignity? Or do you think there's still time to make different choices? Tell me in the comments. Which of these truths touched you most or made you reflect? Your opinion can help others going through this, and together we'll build a better path for later life. And of course, subscribe to the channel and hit notifications, because here you'll always find content that can transform your view on aging, health, and longevity in a real and profound way. I'm so glad you stayed until the end. A big hug, and see you next time.